Brickyard to a 1 hour and a half drive to Madison, Illinois, most specifically the Worldwide Technology Raceway for round 10 of its season. Phil Krause took the win, the second to win in the season. Will be able to clinch the third one, second time back-to-back at this 1.25 mile oval. Welcome to RaceSpotTV. I am Lorenzo Bonder, filling for Arjuna Kankipati, and with me is the newest commentator on the block, 10-time race winner in the Lionheart IndyCar series, and also current runner-up of the previous season, Andrew Kinsella, filling in for our friend Wilson Neto. First and foremost, before I cue you in, Andrew, our serious condolences for Wilson's because his grandma passed away. So in the name of RaceSpot, we wish you the best wishes. So here we go, Andrew. We're into the season 3 races to go, and we only have Gateway, Watkins Glen, and Pocono. And these 3 races, I think they are very key if Adam Crane wants to have any shot of winning this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And if there's any way to end a season, these 3 tracks have got to be it. These are 3 really good drivers' tracks, 2 ovals and a road course. And both of the ovals, you really got to be able to wheel this car. So if any end of the schedule would favor a guy like Phil Krause, this might be it.
Absolutely. A top-notch race for Phil Krause last time by, basically dominating the whole grid. But here we go. Championship standings up and over here. As you can see, Adam Crane retaining a very marginal lead to Phil Krause, which managed to close the deal in Indianapolis and then close up the gap to the VRS satellite driver. But you said it. This track is not easy. You have to hit your marks. This was discussed in the IndyCar Discord community. What does Adam Crane have to do over here to actually come away with the win this race? Because this race, I think, in those 3 in the calendar, might be the toughest one.
Absolutely. So I think that today, what both Crane and Krause have to do is they have to, number one, come in here with a really solid setup. There are 2 very unique corners on this track that require a very different setup approach, and compromising between those 2 and getting the car working well at both ends of the track is going to be very difficult. But it's also going to be in the driver's hands, because they've got to be able to take that setup and adjust it and adjust their lines as the run goes on and the tires wear out. So this is going to be a really fascinating duel, I think, between the 2 of them.
Absolutely. 140 laps, as we still have a few seconds here on qualifying, but I think pretty much it is sealed the deal that Phil Krause will start on pole position. So we're going to get right into our grid for this race. So Phil Krause is your pole sitter, and this time followed by Isaac Morris, with Andrew Marquez and Jesper Orman finishing up your first 2 rows of this race. Alexander Vandersand and Alexis Newsom followed by actually teammates over here for the Indy Alliance 3 Crowns, finishing the row number 3 with Matt Pavelski making a little bit of a comeback into our Monday night races alongside Tim Tomes, the SCO-WRS driver, probably with his best start of the season so far. Adam Blocker, who managed to dip a few races because of his missed weeks, his drop weeks this season, is in 9th place. He's going to have to crawl himself back up from the top 10 alongside Adam Crane. So Adam not in a very favorable position over here as we go into Andreas Ike and David Graybill on row 6, Jacob Oster and Chris Wilhite Will Hyde in row 7, and no Rob Ungelnex and Matt Hollybaugh riding out the 16 car grid. And like we were talking about, really good setup that you need to have at this track, Andrew. But the problem is Adam Crane doesn't have good odds over here because he starts in 10th, and draft over here is one of the tricky corners because it kills your tires, I think, more than any other track of the season.
Yeah, this is going to be a very difficult starting position for Adam Crane. I'm not sure whether he messed up a little bit in qualifying or he just didn't quite have the car under him. But coming from 10th, this is going to be difficult. He's going to have to really work the draft, and getting a good setup through 1 and 2 is going to be very key for him. So if he's going to want to do, he's going to want to get a good exit out of 1 and 2, draft down through to turn 3, and then through 3 and 4, hopefully he can get either alongside him or have a good enough draft that he can get alongside him into turn 1 and into that sort of braking zone coming into 1.
Yeah, and do you think you should be aggressive at the start of the races? Because we know Indianapolis, the Indy Road, is a race. Of course, it is a road one, so you are necessary to be aggressive to move up the field because the tires have a really big dip. But over here, do you try to play conservative and try to carry with the attrition of this track? Because it isn't the easiest track to drive. We saw Lionheart. There were a few cautions when we ran this a few months ago. Do you think this could repeat, or you have to be aggressive, move up the field because 140 laps is too short to make up ground?
Well, that's a catch-22 for Adam Crane, isn't it? Because as the championship leader, he's going to want to be a little bit conservative and try and get a good finish. But at the same time, you really need to make the moves on the start of the race. And so I think he's got to be at least a little bit aggressive here to start to try and get through at least a few guys in the first couple laps.
And who wins, real quick?
I am going to go with Phil Kraus.
All right, as Phil Kraus lead us off, he already on the throttle. As you're going to have the green flag over here. Barney, the flag man, already waving that green flag as we go into turn number 1 for 140 laps at the Illinois circuit.
Yeah, and they're already starting to spread out just a little bit. You'll notice that some of them are starting to fall in line, trying to take advantage of that draft because the draft is so powerful coming down through turns 3 and 4 here.
Yeah, it is really tricky. We really see 3 wide in between Andrew Marquez, Isaac Morris, and also Jesper Orman right there as we finish lap number 1. Phil Kraus has a 0.4 second lead right now on Isaac Morris. So the Team Talent driver being able to open away a gap, but Isaac not being able to go by any second right now. I see Alexis Newsom going on the inside on the back stretch. Who actually might have the advantage going into turn number 3. Let's see if she's going to be able to seal the deal as they go into 4. And yes, the Indy Alliance drivers managed to seal that deal, Andrew.
Yeah, Newsom's actually dropped back a little bit here. That was Van de Sant, her sometime teammate in Lionheart. Was dropping back, but Newsom is doing a great job up in 4th place here. Adam Blocker is another one moving through the field right now, up to P7, 2 spots up.
Yeah, 2 spots up for Adam Blocker. I think the race start that Adam probably wanted to have this start of the race, I think, is the ideal one. Coming from 9th place, biggest mover of the field so far, clinching 3 spots in this race as he works the inside line, goes to the outside on the hunt of the Swedish of Jesper Orman and his team and Alexis Newsom. So he has the 2 points of the 3 crowns right ahead of him to work out. But the current champion of the season, Adam Blocker, is probably going to have his work cut out for him as we open up lap number 5.
Yeah, and until they're very aggressive. Oh, we have someone in the wall coming through 1 and 2. Just a scrape.
Who was that? That was ball.
It could have been Matt Holliday, yeah.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that whenever we have the clearance. As Blocker managed to make the move, a little bit of a clinched up move on Jesper Orman, but he seals the deal into turn number 4. And now it gets chased by the other drivers and they have to check up, but everybody's trying to scrap themselves to see Matt Pavelski with a really good run in the Broken Arrow with i5G and Apex Racing Team. A guy that we normally don't see on the money nights here, Andrew, but we know how talented Matt Pavelski is, and good to see him shining on the short oval.
Absolutely. Matt is veteran of this IndyCar community, and he's been a top driver for a number of years here. He doesn't make it out as much as we would like to see him out, but whenever he comes out, he's always competitive, and it's great to see him being competitive here as well. Man, it's been interesting seeing how much movement there's actually been early in this race. I don't think hardly anyone stayed where they started. They've all been just moving around and trying to sort out the order.
I think the only guys who started and managed to kind of retain his position are Pavelski in the top 3. Everybody else kind of shuffled around, one position up and one position down. The biggest loser has to be either David Graybill or Alex van der Sande, nearly losing a lot of positions, and Alex is going to lose one more once again, I think, to Team Tomes as he makes the overtake on turn number 4. And we know Alex van der Sande is one of those drivers. I was just looking at one of the comments on the race service saying that someone tell Alexander the first place is forward, not backwards. We know that Alex likes to work the field, and we know that in Lionheart, he pulled probably one of the biggest wins in terms of race fuel by going nearly 80 laps on the field. So can you do that mega save on a track like this where the draft is huge and the tire drop off is also huge, and you have to make a lot of in-car adjustments?
It's definitely possible with the fuel maps and and just your driving style, and especially lifting and coasting in traffic when you have a large draft. You can definitely save a lot of fuel. And even if you don't necessarily cut out a pit stop, you can still do a lot of things in terms of either going long or having a shorter run at certain points and finding yourself in better positions just because of tire differential later on in the race. So I think that, as you say, Alexander van der Sande is a very good driver at managing the fuel and managing those tires. So I think that's what we're seeing right here. And I just wanted to note that Adam Crane has not made up any positions. In fact, he's lost a position. He's just battling, it looks like, with van der Sande and Oster right now. But Adam Crane has not gone forward at all.
Yeah, I think he only managed to retain his 10th position from Alex van der Sande nearly grazing the wall. The WRS satellite driver trying to get the run right now on Jacob Oster on the inside of turn number 3. Had to back up a little bit. Drivers in the back kind of checked up as well. As you can see, Crane, the championship leader in the points, try to go after Jacob Oster, but no room whatsoever. So it's going to be complicated to see as how Adam negotiates this, because unless we get a yellow flag, the things are looking really good for Phil Krause, because he has a 3.3 second advantage on the second place, which is Isaac Morris. But we see this battle for 4th and 3rd as a blocker trying to chase, managed to get past Andrew Marquez, and now Marquez on the hunt of Adam Blocker, but is being hunted instead by Alexis Newsom, which is one of the short oval specialists in the IndyCar Oval Series.
Yeah, Newsom's very, very good on the short ovals. She really knows how to wheel the car around these short, flat ovals. We saw her have great success at places like Milwaukee in the Lionheart Series. So it doesn't surprise me that she's really close in the top 5 here.
Yeah, it looks like Adam Blocker now moved up one spot and now managed to overtake Isaac Morris. So the champion of last season is on the hunt, and apparently is slightly faster over here than Philip Krause, nearly fast by 0.47 40 hundredths of a second than the Team Talent driver. You can see, I think, drivers not being overly aggressive with the car setups and things like that, because everybody kind of clenched up one together and another over here. As now you can see Adam Crane being moved up one spot, finally overtook Jacob Oster, which I'm interested right now. Do you know when he actually moved up to I-5G?
I'm not sure. I think it was a couple of races ago, a couple weeks ago, he got in, but I'm a little bit out of the loop on the IndyCar gossip right now, to be quite honest. But looking at Adam Crane, isn't this sort of the tale of the two Adams? Adam Blocker and Adam Crane, they started side by side. Blocker has gotten all the way up to 2nd position from that same row 5, and Adam Crane is still in 9th position. That's got to be, he's got to be just chewing at the bit to get by some of these guys and get up there with Blocker and Krause.
Yeah, because yeah, we're gonna see now the biggest gainers in the field. You can see Blocker, biggest gainer in this field with 7 positions up. Biggest loser, Alex Vandersen, but we know Vandersen is a little bit conservative on these side of the races. Usually picks up the pace as things go by, and now Crane moves up 1 spot, managed to overtake Team Tomes on the inside out of 4. Let's see if Tomes is gonna try to fight back. He tries to fight back, gets close on the wing of Adam Crane, but loses the edge right in between 1 and 2. Now Adam Crane managed to retain, open up a slight gap, and 3/10 of a second over here. It doesn't look much in the whole scope of things, but if you are within the back of someone in a track that it's so tricky to drive, 3/10 of a second is a lifetime, right?
Absolutely, and especially as you're driving away from someone, you can see that Crane has gone from 3/10 and it's now almost 6/10 a couple of corners later. So you can tell that Crane, I think his setup really favors the long run versus the short run. He couldn't do much at the very beginning of this race, but that long run pace, that as we haven't had a yellow flag yet, this is something to look for, is who are the cars that can actually keep it up in the long run and keep that pace going, and who's going to be falling off a cliff as they use up their tires and their setup isn't quite as balanced as it seems at the beginning.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how these setups fall in the line, because in a track like this, we know the long run setups they usually kind of work out and pick up the time if you are conservative and then overheat the tires, because it is very easy to overheat them tires right here. As now we see Newsom on the inside of Andrew Marquez. Andrew managed to go in place of Alex Newsom, but now Alexis getting chased by Jasper. She might have to give up the position to her teammate on the inside of 3, and Jasper obviously is going to get a better run over here, so the Swedish driver will manage to take the position out of her teammate, and she might lose one more now to Pavelski.
Yeah, and you really saw there a kind of unique phenomena to Gateway and a few other tracks around here, and that the inside line, while it's faster to go through the corner, if you don't clear them by the exit of the corner, you can't go all the way out to where you want to, and you have to lift off. And that's what happened to Alexis Newsom there. She just couldn't go all the way out to where she wanted to, and she ended up losing a position because of it.
And plus, there isn't too many lines over here. We probably see some other tracks like Kentucky or Michigan or something like that, and we've probably seen in the beginning of the season. This kind of has an ebb and flow of one line, and you kind of have to stick to that line nearly exclusively for basically the entirety of your stint. Otherwise, it doesn't work. It might work maybe in the first few laps, but other than that, it is just one line. Maybe the outside line, middle, then migrate to the outside line, and then have that working out.
Yeah, so where Kentucky might have 2 or 3 distinct lines, what you find here at Gateway is that you have maybe a half line difference between the car in front of you. So you might be entering just a little bit higher, trying to hit that apex a little bit sooner, get back to the throttle sooner, and dive low on the exit to get the run. But basically what you're doing is you're just trying to offset yourself just a little bit in order to get that differentiation, as we see Pavelski and Crane going at it.
Yeah, Adam
Crane has caught back up, hasn't he?
Yeah, I was looking at that. Like, Crane was catching up basically nearly a tenth or 2 per lap on this whole train of cars now on the back of Pavelski. So the broken arrow will be under threat from the VRS satellite driver. As you can see, Crane getting that run, won't be able to make the move on inside of turn number 1 and 2. Probably will get that back stretch run as he works the wing out of the Pavelski, and let's see if he's going to be able to make the move on the outside of 3, maybe the inside if he actually is bold with that move.
Yeah, and what you'll see is Crane is just going a little bit like a half lane lower than Pavelski through this corner to try and get a little bit of clean air, keep his run going, and let's see if he takes a look into turn 1 or if he stays behind Pavelski here.
Stays behind once again for one more lap, goes to the high line, and kind of migrates to the middle line, try to get the run on Pavelski, but Pavelski been doing a really good job of keeping the VRS satellite driver away from him, not being able to make the overtaking. Vandersen not far behind, half a second behind Adam Crane as we currently speak. But one more thing we should be looking at over here, which is very interesting, we haven't been caught up yet so far on our frame here. Adam Blocker is catching Phil Krause, and it is not catching up slightly, like a few short margins here and there. is 2/3 a lap. So we can actually see the battle for the lead being brewing up in the next few laps or so.
Yeah, Blocker's been flying. He got clear of Isaac Morris with about 4 seconds to Kraus. So that was basically what it took for Blocker to get through the field. Is it cost him 4 seconds just by starting ninth, and now he's just closing up lap by lap, lap by lap. It's not just 1 or 2 tenths; it's even sometimes 3 or 4 tenths a lap. It's been a treat to watch.
And that is very intriguing. Like last lap, basically, and nearly a full tenth of a second faster than Phil Kraus. 26.6 for Philip Kraus, and 26.51 to Adam Blocker. So he shreds 1/10 of a second. And meanwhile, now you can see Adam Crane right in the middle of the gaggle of these 4 cars. So the championship point leader slowly creeping closer, and he might be able to get on someone on the outside. Who's that on the outside? I think that is David Graybill. Looks like it. Yeah, it is. So the first back marker being caught up by the guys on the track, and everything kind of clustered up. Everybody close to one another. So we kind of have a pack racing, something that I didn't kind of expect over here, to be very honest with you, Andrew.
Yeah, that can happen here, especially when one car in particular isn't quite as fast as the cars behind them, but they're just not fast enough to actually execute the pass and make it clean. You can find that someone sort of becomes the cork in the bottle, and you get a pack of 3 or 4 guys. The other thing to note is now that we are starting to get some of these lap cars, that could start creating a lot of opportunities for some of these guys to actually make the pass, as especially the guys at the front of the train will suddenly have aero push that they didn't have before.
Yeah, and you're looking at right now Alex Newsome making the move on her teammate. So Alexis move up 1 spot, gets within the top 5. Not far behind is Adam Crane. He gets within the high line. Apparently, Jasper is struggling a little bit with his car during this middle portion of the stint. And now might get overtaken by the VRS satellite driver. In the meanwhile, we have the battle for the lead. We talked about this was brewing for a few laps on and on. And the gap right now that Phil Kraus is under 0.6 of a second. It might go down to around half a second, depending how good of a run does Adam Blocker get.
And the thing that is really interesting to me is that Blocker's showing no signs of slowing down. Generally speaking, at about 1.2, 1 second behind, you really start to feel that aero push. But Adam doesn't seem to be that affected by the aero push, and he's been able to close up all the way to about 0.6 of a second. So he's doing a great job fighting through that aero push, and hopefully we'll have a battle here in just a matter of a few laps.
Yeah, but now Philip managed to fight back a little bit with Adam being able to fall under the tracks a little bit, but still stabilized within half a second in between the number 1 and the number 3 car in the split. Meanwhile, Adam Crane finding a lot of problems to try to overtake Jasper Orman and Alexis Newsome. This is the problem of having teammates sometimes here, Andrew. You probably know this because you're racing Lionheart. You have the Adrenaline Motorsports alongside you whenever you drive. You guys work it out on Discord, TeamSpeak on your team, so team Discord. How much of a teamwork does matter in a track like this where position is key? And you can see Rain getting that run on the outside, but not being able to close because Orman simply has that draft for the straight and it cannot get closer.
Yeah, teamwork is very important, especially when it comes to defending. As we see Adam Crane actually going to the inside of Orman now, this could actually be a pass here as he's got it into 3 instead of 1.
He managed to get on the back stretch right here, and he has now Alexis Newsome to use that draft, so he kind of shuts the door kind of tight on Jasper, so he managed to make the overtake and now looming large in the top 5. But go ahead.
Yeah, that was a very nice move. He got a really good run through 1 and 2 and just completed it on the exit of 4 there. That tightness that you see is actually pretty common at a place like Gateway, where you just have to slide up in front of it. If you're clear, you have to take that position, or else you're gonna be in for a very long night. So while it might seem a little tight to for some oval etiquette, in this case, at this type of track, you got to take that.
Yeah, you got to capitalize every single possible overtake that you made. I said that was Alexis Newsom, though. The card looks similar, so that is Andrew Marquez. So a slight apology for me, as I've confused the liveries a little bit. And Adam Cream makes the move on the inside of Andrew Marquez, now into the top 5. The VRS satellite driver on the hunt now of his teammate of Andrew Marquez, which is Isaac Morris of the SEL WCS. And so it's going to be interesting how does Adam Crane work it out. And we just heard on radio Jasper is going to come into the pit lane. So the start of our pit stops right here. And I heard from Brendan Traino, which is the setup maker for the Apex Racing setups, the undercut is very big over here. And I think in a grid like this, it can work out if you just play your cars right.
Yeah, so the trick with the undercut is you're praying that a yellow doesn't come out while you're a lap down, because you will be a lap down for a brief period of time here. So it can gain you a great advantage, but A, you have the problem of a yellow potentially coming out, but B, you also will have slightly older tires and slightly more worn tires as the other people start to come and pit. So we actually have seen it's the case that passing is actually pretty easy here today, at least for a gateway race. So while it'll initially get him some track position, it'll be interesting to see whether he'll actually be able to keep it, or whether it might actually drop him back further over the course of a longer run here.
And that is going to be very interesting as we see the next lap. Who's going to pit? So far, only Jasper pitted in the pit box. And we saw he was struggling with tires a little bit. Now we can see Phil Krause getting hunted by Adam Blocker, but we're back with the battle between Matt Pavelski and Andrew Marquez. Andrew struggling a little bit, but he comes into the pit lane, so the SEO WRS driver will be the first out of the team to come into the pit lane. He was struggling with the tires, but might be programmed over here. What is the what is the fuel length over here? You do setups for Lionheart in the car series, so does the fuel length go around 44 laps? Because I estimated about 47 laps ish of sorts.
Yeah, I think that it should be probably on the low side 47 or 48, and it can go well past 50 on the high side, depending on how much fuel saving you've been doing and how much draft you've had. But I think a good indication of just how far you can go will be when Phil Krause comes in, because he's been in clean air this entire time, and so he'll basically have been burning as much fuel as possible. So when we see him come in, that's when we know that that's sort of the minimum amount that you can go on a full tank.
Right on. And talking about Phil Krause, here we go. We see Team Combs coming into the pit lane, and Adam Blocker. You're going to see him making the move on the inside of turn number 4, apologies, as Adam Blocker might be able to seal the deal, and he is able, side by side with Phil Krause, blocks Phil Krause line on the high sideline as they go into turn number 1, and Adam Blocker goes into the lead.
What a drive from Adam Blocker, just hunting him down lap after lap, and again, that arrow push that so often you can fall victim to when you approach a car in clean air like Krause has been. Adam just drove right through it, and in the space of one stint has made up 9 positions and then a full 4-second gap on Krause, and has got himself in the lead. Incredible.
Yeah, it's been an incredible drive. Remembering, for those who are follow IndyCar in our Indy League, he actually won the IndyCar race at the Gateway back in June, the beginning of June. A very tight race against the private label team hype driver O'Connor Harrington, but still being able to retain the win in the Illinois track. And so far, other drivers are pitting. Matt Hollybaugh in the pit lane, and Krause finally is in here. So 49 laps for the Team Talent driver here, Andrew, right around the money.
Yep, and this puts him right in a nice window for one more stop, and then he should be good to go from here. So this will be a fairly comfortable drive from Krause. It looks like comfortable to stop.
Yeah, comfortable to stop as he comes out of the pit lane. There's, I think, one driver right ahead of him.
That's Matt Hollybaugh, I believe.
Yeah. Looks like Matt Hollybaugh, but Hollybaugh, I think, is a lap down. Yeah, he's fully a lap down on on the Team Talent driver as he's going to get lapped by Phil Krause on the outside line eventually.
Hollabaugh doesn't
heard
make it very easy on him, does he?
No, it doesn't. He does not. It makes the job hard as we see Blocker in the pit lane. So Phil Krause, let's see where does he come out in comparison to Adam Blocker. It's a very sure run towards the exit out of the pit lane. The problem is for Blocker, he is on a longer run than Krause on the whole total of the pit lane. So this could be really close.
It could be, but Krause having to go around the outside of Hollabaugh through 3 and 4 there, that's going to cost him at least a tenth or two, and I wouldn't be surprised if Blocker's made it back out in front of him.
Yeah, as we see, Krause is right on turn 1, going into 2 right now. Blocker, you're going to see right in front of him. So here comes Phil Krause. Will have the speed, but Blocker might have to turn into 3 right here. As now Phil Krause, does he have the pace to beat? And he does, so Phil Krause moves back up to the lead.
Just barely, though.
And just barely, as we have 5-3. Adam Crane goes into the pit lane, so the championship point leader comes into the pit lane after 52 laps. And the last driver that was with 53 laps in the stint is Rob Ungonix. He comes into the pit lane, so everybody decided already to pit, and we are back to status quo.
Yep, and that's a huge sigh of relief for the drivers. Gateway does have a fairly tricky pit in and pit out, and it's not unheard of to have a caution come out with a car spinning on pit exit, so it'll be a big sigh of relief for all of these guys to get fully through the green flag pit cycle, especially for some of the guys who stopped really early in the run, like Jesper Orman did.
Yeah, like Jesper right now is in 4th place, but has 3 laps more than Andrew Marquez, but he basically has 9-10 laps more in terms of tires versus everybody else. So he's going to struggle for the mid portion of his stint, as we see Adam Crane going to the inside line, try to get a little bit of a better run into Andrew Marquez. So the VR satellite driver will have the run into turn number 3, might have to seal the deal on 4, but there's Jesper right in front of him, and that air effect might play into effect right there, but nothing whatsoever. Quite of an easy move. Adam Crane moves up to 5th place and now on the hunt of that number 4 car driver.
Yeah, so it'll definitely be interesting to see how fast Crane pulls up on Orman and whether those older tires end up costing Orman in the long run here. Crane is he's been slowly moving his way up, but he has been moving his way up lap after lap, so it's been a slow start to the day, but he is definitely starting to turn it up as he tries to chase his championship here.
Yeah, as we see Jacob Oster going to the outside line, nearly touching the back wing of the Cruz Blue Hike. So the Team i5G driver moving within the top 10 and even further. So P9 now for Oster, as now we're back with Adam Crane, manages to make the move easy on Jesper Orman. So you can see Orman starting to struggle with the tires a little bit, but he gets really close.
That was very close from Orman. He got in there way too deep.
Yeah, that was
way too deep from Orman.
Too close to call. Well, we're going to look on the replay. That move from Orman on the inside line of turn number 1. As you can see, Orman try to go for the run, gets too close, has to tap on the brakes, and because he tapped the brakes, car drifts away a little bit to the outside line, and that will not do anything good for his tires whatsoever.
No, it's going to heat up those rear tires even more. So that was not only costly from a time perspective, but it's going to be costly from a tire perspective for him as well. But as we see, Alexander Van de Sant also made the move on Marquez. So Van de Sant, as we said, he likes to work the strategy. He likes to take it nice and slow. He's doing a similar race to Adam Crane right now, and he's just slowly working his way up through this field.
Yeah, slowly moving up way through this field, as we see Van der Sant a 9 lap within his stint, so he has basically half the stint length as Jesper Orman does. So I don't think Jesper will put up a major fight against his teammate whenever that Alex comes right within his clutches. But what a start from Vincent. You said that started slow, started within the top 5, dropped back about 3-4 cars back, was outside of the top 10 for a little bit, now moving up a few spots, working that strategy. only the one on the driver had a few issues with them. So you got the current stint on your left. So on your left-hand side, you can see the driver with last is David Graybill and Rob Rumlenex as they went longer in the pit lane. But we have to take note right here. Team Thomas is on 10 laps, but he had a penalty for pit exit infringement. Thank you, AJ Mulseman, for bringing up that information on the YouTube chat.
Yeah, we have Tim Toms with the penalty there, and we also have Matt Hollabuz retired from the race, and I'm not entirely sure why. I didn't see any incidents with him. He is out of the car and out of the server as well.
Yeah, he said that he had a crash in qualifying, so he couldn't get a lap in properly. So he was having a few struggles in the track, so I think because of the struggles on the track, he just decided to end his day early in this race. And plus, he wouldn't take a major plunge in the iRating since he's the number 15 car on the split out of 16.
As we look at a battle between Andrew Marquez and Matt Pavelski, Pavelski is now the latest to sort of take a shot at Marquez here. Marquez has not been doing well on the second stint. He was doing a great job at the beginning of the race, but I believe this will be the third or fourth car this stint to take a shot at taking the position away from him.
I think he's easily probably the biggest loser in this current stint so far. He started P3, now it's in P7. Might lose P8 of Matt Pavelski. Might go to P8 because of Matt Pavelski pressuring him. And not far behind is Jacob Oster, and Jacob is slightly faster than both of them, so there is a good chance he might start to fall off the grid and be within that range of going outside the top 10 here, Andrew. And once you're off that gridding, it's very hard to come back. You probably would need a yellow flag or something like that to come back.
Yeah, but I think even beyond a yellow flag, he's got to make some sort of adjustment to his car. Whether it's with the tools, the settings aren't working for him. He seems to be pushing quite a bit, especially through 1 and 2, and he's not getting the drive off that he needs. So I definitely think that it's beyond just having a yellow to get him back in it. He needs to make some adjustments and potentially take a little bit more risk with the in-car adjustments as we see a battle for the lead once more.
Yeah, once more, Adam Blocker gets within the back wing of Philip Kraus. Once again, let's see if the Power Slides driver will have the run over here on turn number 3. He does have the run on the inside, but stays kind of half a lane. But kind of covered off by Philip Kraus on the exit out of 4. And Phil is going to have one more lap to live off over here, but you can see the work being done on the steering out of Adam Blocker. Try to keep within a relatively same line, but try to break off the drop, try to avoid that major arrow wash these cars generate within turn 1 and 2, and trying to work a line that benefits him on the launching run out of 3 and 4 here, Andrew.
Yeah, for the first stint we saw Adam was catching him a 10th or 2 a lap, and he was running in mostly clean air. Now Adam's running in the dirty air, so you're seeing him just deking out just a little bit from the back of Kraus' car, trying to get some clean air. It'll be interesting to see how Adam's car is affected by spending so much time behind Phil Kraus, whether it's going to wear out those front tires just a little bit more, and he's going to struggle a little bit more to get by him this time.
But that's what for me is interesting, right? Because we know Adam is a great worker under the draft. Usually, I think, out of all drivers that probably commentated in IndyCars during our leagues and broadcasts here on RaceSpot, Adam probably is one of the, I'm probably going to say top 3 that knows how to work the draft, right? He knows how to work the car, make the adjustments necessary to not burn the rear tires and make sure the car is within the same pace as the other teammates. That's why it is proven why he's probably one of the best drivers in the IndyCars, and he's the current leader of Lionheart Series and current champion of the Lionheart IndyCar Series, and to be back-to-back champion.
Yeah, the key is he's really, really smooth on his inputs. And that's so important when you're behind a car because it's very easy to jerk the steering wheel a little bit, jerk the throttle, get on and off the throttle to try and make the car turn. Adam is very, very smooth when he's behind another car, and it just allows him to keep those tires underneath him. He doesn't wear the car out. He doesn't wear the tires out nearly as much as some of his competitors do. And he's just very, very patient, and he allows the car in front to sort of make the mistake, show him the opportunity, and he's probably one of the best at pouncing when that opportunity presents.
Yeah, and you can see, I think there is no slight signs of pressure from Adam Blocker. He's just driving his lines and things like that, working lap by lap to see where the opening is actually being set up, because I think in the benefit of crowds, there is a car right ahead of him, and that car is Andreas Eich that is standing right in front of him as we see Van der Sande trying to move up one spot, and now you can see Eich right on the start-finish line. It is still a lengthy gap of sorts to Phil Krause. Now you can see now on the screen, but I think it does help a little bit because it does generate some small drag, and that small drag might be helping Phil getting the advantage on the straights, and of course it doesn't affect him as much. It would kind of give him a clean air vibe going through the turns, right?
And interestingly enough, Eich is Krause's teammate, so it'll be interesting to see if there's a little bit of teamwork there as Krause comes to lap him, and whether Eich will similarly move out of the way for Blocker, or whether there's a little bit of interference going on there.
It's going to be interesting how that is worked out as we're back with the battle between Matt Pavelski and Andrew Marquez. So the SCOWRS driver still struggling to defend a bit over here, but also the broken arrow with 5i5G and an Apex Racing Team driver not being able to make that overtake. But Pavelski with a solid result so far. Again, we haven't seen him much on these Mondays, but so far a really good solid top 10 result for him.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that he might not have had all the practice that he wanted, so I think his first stint was really just sort of settling in, figuring out the car, figuring out what he needed to do in practice or in the race, and in terms of lines. And then now you really start to see him. He's really pressuring Marquez. He's keeping him right on that 1/10, 2/10 for lap after lap, and he's really putting the pressure on Marquez.
As now you can see the gap between Krause and Eich just basically within the image of all three drivers. So Krause is going to have the draft working on his favor a little bit over there as Eich goes to the outside. Whoa, what a massive save from Philip Krause out of 4. I honestly thought he was going to crash, but that opens the gap.
Here comes Blocker.
Yeah, here comes Blocker on the inside of turn number 1. The power slide driver might have the room to work in on the inside, but Phil Krause somehow, some way manages to retain temporarily that lead, and you can see now Krause blocking the line out of Blocker on the entry at turn number 3, and now Blocker knows he has the opening to work with because those tires might be shot up a little bit.
Well, Blocker has seen blood in the water here. You saw him try and pounce there, but what he's seen there is that Krause got very loose on the exit of 4, so that means that he's right on the edge of his tools, and Blocker will know this. So that means that going forward, Adam is going to be pressuring him a lot more because Krause is doing everything he possibly can. Wow, what a save. Look at the hands there.
Look at the hand, the hand work, the catching the snap rear overseat out of the car and still keep it on track relatively fast in comparison to Adam Blocker is just, it proves why Phil Krause, I've always picked up Phil Krause. He's a specialist on road courses. It is proven by the ISOWC. He's probably one of the best road guys in the service, but his work sometimes, especially in these short ovals, is nothing short of an amazing feat. And what save! I'll be very honest. I drive like these cars, but I want to be able to catch that.
Yeah, I'd say only a handful of drivers on iRacing would be able to catch a slide that big coming out of 4. He was extremely loose, and it was a twitchy loose, which is the worst kind of loose because it just it feels like it snaps on you and it's coming out of nowhere. You have to anticipate slides in order to catch them, and that was like the quickest reaction you could possibly get, and he just barely saved that.
It's those split-second reactions that amazes me about these cars. people might be saying, "Oh, the tires might need work and things like that," blah blah blah, and they're aware that it needs work and it will be tweaked. But what they can do with this car, like bring it to the very top performance, top tier performance out of this car, is nothing but an amazing work. As we see Adam Crane, he tried to make an overtake on Alexis Newsom on the previous lap, went to the inside of turn number 1, but Alexis manages to retain that top 3 spot. She is in 3rd right now, the Indy Alliance 3 Crowns racing driver, and she has right ahead of her Team Tomes, not a teammate, even though deliveries look like the same. She has a back market to work with, and for her, it might be a little bit of a saving grace on the back stretch, but on the turns, she was working a different line to try to cover herself away out of Team Tomes, and that opened up the door to Adam Crane, like you can see once again. He goes on the inside.
Here comes Crane, but Alexis
Crane
will have the outside line, and it's very important that Crane closes her off here, because as you'll see here, Alexis can definitely stick on the outside and potentially take it back through 1 and 2 here just by keeping her momentum on the outside.
Yeah, but you can see the inside work
Oh,
of
that
Adam
was
Crane.
close.
Well, what a job from Adam Crane going to the inside ride, because I think he's the only driver in this race who has been using the inside line perfectly. I haven't seen any single failure or any single mistake out of Adam Crane whenever he makes the overtakes, and again he seals the deal on the overtake and in defending the position on the inside, which we mentioned is not the easiest job to do.
Yeah, but I also want to point out that neither Adam Crane nor Alexis Newsom are out of this.
True.
Alexis came out of the pits 7 seconds behind Kraus and Blocker, and now she's only 5.5 seconds after just being passed. So both Crane and Newsom can still catch Blocker and Kraus here. We still have a full pit stop to go, and so neither of those two are out of this race yet.
Yeah, you can see the last pit stop for all drivers. The last pit stop for Kraus was on lap 50, Blocker 52. Adam Crane was the longest within the top 3, going to lap 54, and Newsom right within the same margin as Adam Blocker. So you said it, they're not out of this one just yet, and the gap between all 3 drivers slightly coming down. Kraus at a 26.5, Blocker 26.6, Adam Crane 26.3. So you hit the marks. Don't count Adam Crane out of this one just yet.
Yeah, this is not a typical gateway winning race from Adam, but he's making it work. He's just worked his way up slowly, lap after lap, slowly gaining ground and reeling those leaders back in. He didn't have the start he needed, but he just put his head down and has been working lap after lap, and it's been really impressive, to be quite honest.
It is really impressive. Of course, he has Andreas Ike right in front of him. He's going to use Ike kind of a hair of sorts to try to build up the draft and get closer to him in turn number 1. And what he needs to do, if he wants to, dream about getting closer to Adam Blocker, he needs to clear away basically on this lap. And you can see Andreas not putting much of an effort, as we see Pavelski, Jacob Oster, and Chris Wilhite for their final pit stop of this race.
Yeah, so what you see all 3 of these drivers do is they're counting backwards from the end of the race. So they said we can go 50 laps on a fuel tank. There's 48 laps to go here. So they're all going to try and undercut here. Pavelski, Oster, Wilhite, and Newsom is now in the pits as well. So it'll be interesting to see, especially with Newsom, will she be able to get back in front of Adam Crane on this undercut, or will Crane be able to stay in front of her? Sorry.
And it's going to be interesting to see how Newsom works this one out, because, all right, if I probably people know that if I open up my mouth and talk about yellow flags, usually, oh, we haven't had a yellow flag just yet. Andrew knows this like I do. I've been very strong on the cursing and the commentators curse lately, so I'm going to say, just let it drive, and if it happens yellow flag, let's see if it comes out, as we see Jesper Orman coming into the pit lane. But I think a yellow flag would do a lot of damage for a lot of people. But the gaps between Blocker and Crane still falling, and it is not a marginal fall. It is a gradual fall. 0.3 of a second shredded from the power slide driver on the last lap.
Yep, and it's, as I was fearing before, Blocker doesn't have quite the car to follow. He has a great car, and he's able to save his tires when he's not following the car in front of him, but he followed Kraus for so
Phil.
long. Phil was very close there. Did he hit the wall?
No, not the problem wasn't Phil hit the wall. He has a car right in front of him. And that's Chris Wilhite. He just came out of the pit lane. Blocker now comes into the pit lane. He's gonna go for that undercut. 2 laps behind, 2 laps before that Kraus actually done his pit stop. So Kraus on 45 laps. You can see Adam Blocker going for 43, and I think he knows what he has in mind. He wants to go for that undercut.
Well, and he's got to be seeing Crane coming up, because Crane is now only 2.5 seconds behind. What was it, 6 laps ago? He was 4 seconds back. So he sees Crane taking out tenths of a second every lap. Yeah, so they're going for this undercut. Kraus's only play right now is to copy them. If he doesn't copy them, he's got to hope for it. Yep, and Kraus is in too. Yes, there we go.
Yeah, both Phil Kraus and Adam Crane into the pit lane. So the driver that went the longest so far, Alex Vandersand, also coming into the pit lane not far behind. So let's see who's going to have the advantage over here coming out of the pit lane, and where does that put the driver out of the Power Line Motorsports. He's on the back stretch going to turn number 3, whereas Kraus and Crane are on their jacks right now. Coming out right now is Adam Crane. Phil Kraus just out of the jacks. Oh, this will be really close. That might be about a second and a half, depending on circumstances. The Blocker's now on turn number 1, going to 2. He's going to have the lead.
Yep, so that was the undercut from Adam Blocker that has got him the lead here as we come out of the pits. And that is just huge for Adam Blocker. He couldn't get by Kraus on the track. He tried a number of different ways. He tried the inside a few times and he just couldn't do it. But now that he's got clean air, will Kraus be able to respond, and will Crane be able to respond? Because we saw for a very long time there, Adam had the best car in clean air.
Yeah, he had the best car on clean air. But the problem is, I think we can also mention that the Lexus Wisdom, she dropped back several spots, and I can tell you why. I think she had a unsafe pit exit penalty out of the pit lane, and she had to stop for one more time. Didn't go up the jack. It was a relatively quick pit stop, but she's now outside of the top 10.
And that's a real shame for Alexis Newscomb, because she was on track for a really good finish here. She was doing a great job in 4th place. So a real shame, but we've got a battle here as Kraus is in fact staying with Adam Blocker here, and he's even closing in a little bit.
Look at the lines done by Kraus. Like, he's launching off on a rocket outside of Adam Blocker. We know that Adam is the Rocket Racing setup maker. It's kind of a little bit ironic to see now Kraus being the Rocket instead of Adam being the Rocket. It's going to be a really good battle, as we have right about 40 laps to go over here. We're going to go 39 as we cross the finish line, and Phil Kraus might have the run on the inside. There he goes, Philip Kraus, team talent, on the inside of Adam Blocker. Can he seal the deal on turn number 2? Still side by side, and Adam Blocker will manage to retain this one.
Yeah, Kraus has got to have just a little bit more of a run. He's got to be clear of Adam before they get to the exit of turn 2. If he's not clear of him, Adam is just going to stay right where he is, not allow Phil to come all the way up the track, and Phil's going to have to lift. So Phil's going to have to get just that little bit closer, a little bit better run there.
Yeah, and I think also that what Phil might be thinking, he has to make the move now, because once he makes the move, he passes up the ball to Adam Blocker to get closer. Not only that, they know, I think probably, that Adam Crane is coming like a man out of, like he's on a mission. a mission on both of them, because he's closing the gap with both of them, as I see Isaac Morris coming into the pit lane to do his final service.
So the other thing that I'm wondering here is, because we saw Adam close up so much on Kraus at the during the first stint, but now Kraus has been able to stay with him and in fact stay ahead of him. So I'm wondering if Kraus was actually saving fuel, because we thought that the fuel window was 47, 48, but he went all the way to lap 50 in clean air. So I'm wondering if he had actually just, for the first stint of the race, he just put it in fuel map 2 or 3, sort of cruising, and now we see he's turned it up full blast with Adam for this last battle here, and we're seeing the true pace of Phil Kraus as well as Adam Blocker right now.
Now you got me wondering that too, to be very honest with you, Andrew, because you mentioned he went 50 laps on a clean air on the first stint, but the second stint you went right about 40 something. I think it was 47 laps. He didn't go the full 50, like we saw on the first stint. So there could be some fuel saving strats. I wouldn't be surprised if Phil's acts a little bit more. Doesn't look like he's being conservative right here because of the slightly aggressive fuel map going to 2 and 3, which still gives you that fuel, that engine efficiency, but gives you some slight fuel saving, right? So I wouldn't be surprised if the team talent driver is making that call to try to have that extra margin going to the final laps.
Well, and not only that, but it also saves your tires just a little bit having it in that lower map. It doesn't have quite the same amount of power, quite the same amount of torque, and it doesn't put quite as much heat in those rear tires. So by popping it down, if you can stay in someone's draft, or if you have a big gap, it actually will help you save your tires for the end as well by putting it down in that lower fuel map. So I'm guessing that Kraus has been playing with the fuel maps just a little bit here, and he's found something that he likes. As we're watching Phil Kraus here with Adam Blocker, Kraus is now a half second back, so he is falling off just a little bit now as the tires are starting to come in. I think Adam might be getting a little bit more comfortable with his long run pace.
Yes, the last time by he was actually faster. He was faster than Kraus, but not faster than Blocker. 26.146 for Adam Blocker, 26.229 for Phil Kraus, 26.188 for Adam Crane. So the VRS satellite driver is slowly catching up right now to Phil Kraus, but we know that catching up on this track is one thing. Overtaking is a whole different story. But if this goes the way it is going, there is a good chance, and I mean a really good chance, that we might be able to see Adam Crane maybe coming closer in the final 10 laps.
I think so, especially if we see some of these lap cars come into play, because Adam doesn't necessarily have clear sailing in the lead. He's going to be encountering some fairly fast lap cars in the next few laps here. So how he's able to deal with them will really dictate, I think, how close Phil and Adam Crane can get. I think Van de Sande is probably too far out of it for us to really consider him without a caution, although he is doing a great job in fourth place, only 5.5 seconds back of our leader now. So I do think it is right now a 3-horse race, and it'll come down a lot to how Adam Blocker can deal with this lap traffic that's coming up.
You know what I'm thinking? I think Van der Sande is trying to pull what he did at Kentucky and try to go for the fuel efficiency, because we saw, I think, on clean air and trying to work the car, they're not, I think they haven't gone for 50 laps like they wanted to go. Of course, they went for 52 laps, 53 laps, some of them went to 55, but they were under draft, so it's easier for you to say fuel because they were under draft the entire time. On the second stint, you're more face to the air than basically the entire first stint. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if Van der Sande is on a more conservative strat, just waiting. If they run out of fuel, it's up to mine to grab those spots. So it's going to be interesting in this final 10 laps of the race to see where the drivers are standing overall on the track, as we're still seeing Adam Crane is still struggling to get closer and closer to Phil Kraus, but he's starting to fill that car a little bit and more. And again, I said 10 laps ago I could see Adam Crane right on the back weighing out of Phil Kraus, but we still have to see if that is going to work out in the end.
Yeah, and I think it'll be interesting to see when we start to see people going. Like, when will Kraus really start to try to force the issue and make the move? When will Crane start seeing that late race pace and late run pace that we've seen? When will that start to come into play?
Yep.
And when will Adam start feeling the effects of the car in front?
And I was looking over here on my side over here. I think Matt Pavelski had a little bit of a graze on the wall on the outside of turn number 2. He's in P6 right now in this field, but it doesn't look like he has massive damage. on the side pod out of your car, of his car. As we look on the replay, Matt going to turn number 1. He's gonna slightly go off understeer on the outside, and bam, slightly grazing the safe barrier on the outside of turn number 2.
Yeah, it's so easy to just let the car go just that little bit, especially it's very difficult on the exit of 2 because the car can get almost pushy loose, or you're getting on the throttle and the car's settling on the right rear and it's wanting to go around, but at the same time the front end still hasn't hooked up, so it's almost loose and pushing at the same time, and you're just going up towards that wall. And I've been there myself where it's just been you just feel helpless and you just scrape it just that little bit.
It is interesting because it is a common thing. It's a common trend within these IR18 cars, right? If he had that on the DW12 hitting on the side pod, I used to joke around, so the DW12 is a tank compared to the IR18. If you hit the side pod, even at a considerable touch, the car still would go without a hitch. On the IR18 though, because of the new damage model and everything, if you go for even a slight bump on the wall, or with the IR18, you basically lose right about 10 miles, 15 miles, depending on circumstances.
So there was actually an Indy Elite race 4 or so years ago that I was in where I took side pod damage in the DW12, and I actually gained 0.2 a lap because I was able to put my tools in a good spot, and I went from 10th to 3rd on the last restart with 10 to go. It was an interesting race.
So you can say instead of in-car adjustment, you made like a forceful car adjustment that eventually give you speed. So you're saying that the car is, of course, not the car is broken, but sometimes hammering it down on the wall gives you more speed and pace.
In the DW12 it did, because basically what I was able to do is it made the car push a lot, so I was able to go down on the or go up on the weight jacker and make it turn more again, basically. In this car, you can't do that. The new damage model is much more realistic than the DW12 damage model was. And yeah, in this car, if you scrape the wall and you get some side pod damage, there's not much you can do. You can mitigate, but you can't recover from it.
Yep. As we're looking in the exit out of turn number 4, Andrew Marquez having to try to withhold his position from Chris Wilhite. And we were talking about Marquez dropping back in the field. Like we said, Oster managed to make the overtake. And now Wilhite within the margin to try to overtake Marquez. But the problem is Wilhite hasn't been able to get really close to try to contend for that move. I think for the past 5 or 6 laps that I've been watching here within the server. So Wilhite, if he wants to do something, he has 18 laps to go, so he has some time to work still. And these laps have been real quick. We have about 5 or 6 minutes left in this race of sorts. So it's gonna be interesting as Adam Crane. Remember when I said 10 laps to go? I think it's starting to become true.
Yep, he's now under 2 seconds back from Phil Kraus, 3 seconds back from Adam Blocker here. Kraus is starting to drop off the back of Blocker, so it looks like that long run pace from Blocker and Crane is really coming into play here. It'll be interesting to see again if Adam comes up on the back of some of these lap cars, how that's going to affect all of this. Because especially with Crane having that really, really strong long run pace, it's going to be pushing both of the cars in front of them to do absolutely all they can to get by as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting as we have 16 to go, and Adam Blocker does a 26.425, and still managing to open up a slight gap to Phil Kraus, doing the 26.517. So gap extending to 1.2 between the Power Slide driver to the Team Talent driver. And the gap is shortening by 0.2 of a second once again. So Adam Crane has to work now a gap of 1.5 seconds on Phil Kraus. So we have 14 to go over here on track. Again, Crane is the fastest out of the bunch. So we can definitely see Adam Crane containing. But the problem is, I think it's the first time we haven't seen Crane, or sorry, rephrasing. this might be the first time we see Crane going up into top tier competition. Not saying that the other drivers are not top tier, but guys that are fighting constantly for the win, like Krause and Blocker and Adrian Anderson. This is the first time he might be within some real pressure.
Yeah, but at the same time, this is real championship implications here. So even if Crane doesn't get to Blocker, that's the man that he's fighting in the championship right in front of him. He can see him. He's hunting him down. He is locked in right now on the back of Phil Krause's car, and he's doing everything that he possibly can to get up to Krause and hopefully pass him. And that, if he can get past him, that is going to be one of the moves that could potentially win him this championship.
True that, as gap between Krause and Blocker actually is fall back a little bit. So Krause fighting back with 11 to go over here. But gap is right about 1.1 seconds. I don't know what Phil Krause has to do over here to get closer to Adam Blocker and then contend for that P1 spot out of the power slide driver. In the meanwhile, Adam Crane slightly faster, but by 1/10 of a second. Actually less than 1/10 of a second on Philip Krause. So we have about 11 laps to go, but the gap right outside the 1 second margin. If Crane wants to do anything whatsoever for both of them, I'll be very honest, I can totally see Crane making the move maybe with 5 to go and being able to get closer to Blocker with that 5 to go and maybe contend for the win with 2 to go.
Yeah, I think it's a distinct possibility, especially because Adam Blocker is really getting into the dirty air of the lap cars in front of him now. So you're seeing the gaps both to Krause and then Krause to Crane really according together. So we're now down to, it was 5 laps ago, it was 3 seconds between Blocker and Crane. Now it's down to 2 seconds, under 2 seconds between Blocker and Crane.
It's a ridiculous job that he's doing. It's like, it's something that it doesn't fall under the rule book. Now you can see the gap is 0.8 seconds between Krause here and Crane doing the 26.3 between both drivers. As well, let's see who's going to be able to come out on top, as we have right about 8 to go here on the track. Adam Blocker has about 1.7 on Adam Crane, as they're going to go up to 7 to go. The problem is for Adam Blocker right now, he has a car right in front of him, so that traffic might be coming into effect, as we were talking about over here. Andrew, first car in this griddy is symptoms.
Well, not only does he have one car in front of him, but as soon as he gets by that car, he's got another car to deal with, and then another car. So this is really, really difficult. This is a difficult place for Adam Blocker. Got to really work to manage his gap to Krause and to Crane, as Crane is really closing in on the back of Krause now. So what Adam's got to hope for is that Krause and Crane really get into it and hold each other up so that he can maintain that buffer, because clearly Adam Crane is the fastest car out of these 3 right now.
Yeah, and talking about Adam Crane, he's now nearly within the back wing out of Philip Krause. Like I said, 6 to go. He might go to move 1-5. It depends on the line that Adam Crane takes. He takes like a middle inside line on Philip Krause. As we open up the 5 laps to go over here, we're nearly going to the point of no return here on the Gateway, on the Worldwide Technology Raceway track. I'm Lorenzo Bonder. I'm with Andrew Kinsella, Connery Maddock on camera. So thank you so much for enjoying this action with us, as now Adam Crane on the backtrack. 0.2 separates the Team Talent to the VRS satellite driver, and look at the lines being warped by them. First time I think Krause manages to kind of block off the line of Adam Crane and give him a little bit of cushion.
Yeah, but not a lot of cushion. It's still only 0.3 of a second between Krause and Crane. Crane is there, and he's got the tires to make this pass work. Question is, does he have the laps? Only 4 to go. This is going to be a tall order for Crane to get by, but he can definitely do it.
In talking about championship points, of course, this race kind of matters, I think, more than every single other race, because it is only 16 cars, and the strength of field is quite considerate over here. I think more than some of the other races here we had this season. So I think every point that Adam Crane can get, he should go for it. I don't think he should be conservative with this one, and I think he's actually listening to our calls. Look at the work being done by the VR satellite driver, as they're gonna go up to the outside line. Adam Crane is gonna work that big run into the start-finish line. There's a little bit of an understeer for Philip Kraus, 2 to go as Adam Crane goes to the inside line of Phil Kraus. Fuels managed to retain, but it gets wobbly to the entry of turn number 1. Might get a little bit blocked off. Gets wobbly on the inside, the outside of turn number 2 as well. Look at the block being done by Kraus as they go into turn number 3. 1 lap to go, and if everything is to be judged over here, Adam Blocker might have just one in the back.
Wow, Adam is doing everything he possibly can to get by Phil Kraus, but I don't know if he's going to do it. Kraus took away the inside through 3 and 4, and that might be the difference here as Adam, he needs to get a big run coming out of 1 and 2 here.
He needs to get that big run as they go into 3 and 4. Adam Blocker doesn't even care about these 2 guys. He is in front, going to 3. Now on the outside of turn number 4, so Adam Blocker will be the winner on this one. This might come to the photo finish. Who will have the run? I think Adam Crane will come out in P2 instead of Philip Kraus.
Wow, what a move from Adam Crane coming to the checkered flag. That could have just won him the championship right there. That was probably a 15, maybe even a 20 or 25 point swing in Adam Crane's favor. What a move coming to the checkered flag from Adam Crane.
Yeah, what a move from Adam Crane, but the winner here, Adam Blocker. So winner in the Lionheart IndyCar Series, winner over here in the IndyCar Open Series, so proving why he's one of the strongest drivers, not only in short ovals, but in the car as well. He's probably going to do a few celebrations around the finish line, and he does that donut. Half a donut of sorts as going to pick up on Adam Blocker a little bit, but what a battle we saw here, Andrew. What a battle between Adam Crane and Philip Kraus.
Absolutely incredible, and what a recovery drive as well. Like, not just the battle for the last 10 laps. Adam Crane came back from, I think he was 12th on about lap 20, and he came back and finished second in this race. He just, lap after lap, determinedly drove through that field, and on that last lap with that incredible outside move through 3 and 4, takes second place. What a drive from Adam Crane here today.
Yeah, well, probably one of the best battles of this entire season. Easily, as we see the race results here, as Adam Blocker is the winner of the Worldwide Technology Raceway for our round number 10 after 140 laps with a gap of 1.4 on Adam Crane and actually less 400ths of a second separating Adam Crane to Philip Kraus. What a finish between both drivers. Alex Van der Sande is in 4th place, coming for the first driver out of the Three Crown Racing with the Indy Alliance, with his teammate Jasper Orman finishing in the top 5. Matt Pavelski, good result out of the Broken Arrow with Team I5G. 6th place, Jacob Oster, Andrew Marquez, Chris Bullhite, and Isaac Morris round out our top 10 here, as we still have Rob Ungelnix in 11th, Alexis Newsom in 12th place, Andreas Ike in 13th, Team Tomes being the last car in this running, still within the running, that was in 14th. David Graybill actually pulled the car into the pit lane and actually retired his car midway through the race, and Matt Hollybaugh not being able to finish this race whatsoever, maybe the only true retiree out of this track. I'm out of breath. I think I don't know what to say. What a race we had so far. We only have 2 races this season as we see the battle between Adam Crane and Philip Kraus. Once again, you can see Kraus going for that block on the inside line that could have benefited him a little bit, but look at this. That Crane will have the inside line of the previous lap, so they open up the final lap. That is the second to last lap, as you guys can see that Kraus will actually retain, but the gap is so marginal here, Andrew. But look at the work done by Crane over here as they open up the final lap, and Kraus,
you could see him hit that gas earlier through 1 and 2, and that's what got him the move, and it allowed him to get close enough to take this outside line here, and just getting that corner on him and keeping it through 3 and 4, that's what got him the move.
And look at this as we go into the slow-mo cam, how close they finished to one another. Basically, like a half a car length or even a quarter of a car length separating Adam Crane to Philip Kraus to finish up our 10th round of this season. And and the thing I really want to do right now is pick their brains, because I think we have some interviews. We're going to start first and foremost with our race winner, Adam Blocker. So Adam, first and foremost, congratulations on this win, and a very deserved. I have to be very. you probably know this is a deserving one at least because you had to put the work.
Yeah, that was a really good race. I mean, anytime you go zero cautions at a short oval, that's something only in the open can do. It seems like, but yeah, I was really disappointed with qualifying. Really screwed up both my laps really and started P9. But our power slide setup was just so hooked up. Like I was able to get through those guys way faster than I ever could have imagined. And yeah, I was actually able to hunt down Kraus pretty quickly too. It just, but once I got there, it was really tough to make anything happen.
Yeah, which brings me to the next question. We were talking about here, Andrew. Was the call going to the pit stop earlier than Phil? Did you think it was the only strategy to go for the undercut, or you thought if I go for the undercut, or if I don't get the undercut, I'm probably gonna have the car to beat Philip Kraus on the long run?
I thought I had a couple options, but like so the first time we were pitting, I wanted to go long just to give myself more options later in the race, and he was also pitting behind a lap car, so I was hoping that he would get held up. And then I really only wanted to do a one lap overcut, but there was a lap car pitting in front of me, so I'm like, I don't want to get held up by him, so I'm going to do another one. Um, and it was also protecting me against the yellow. And actually, I almost beat him out in that cycle. We went wheel to wheel through 3 and 4, but he made a good move to make it stick. But yeah, at the end, I figured the only way I could beat him was either to do a one lap undercut if I got close and we hit traffic, which is what ended up happening, or maybe because I was inevitably burning less fuel behind him, I could maybe go like 5 laps longer and then just hope that fresher tires and a better long run setup would be able to beat him. But yeah, ultimately I saw my chance him in traffic and he didn't pit, and so I just dove it in last minute.
Right on, and I have to ask because, of course, you have the real world commitments to IndyCar being an engine, like preparing the engines for the IndyCar race, for some of the IndyCar cars. We have 2 races left in the season, Glen and Pocono. If you could race, if you are able to race in both of them, which track favors you the most?
I think I'm better at Pocono, but I'm gonna end up racing Watkins Glen, which normally I do pretty okay at as well. But yeah, I mean, both of them are so much fun. Watkins Glen, especially the boot layout, is such a classic IndyCar track, and then obviously Pocono is just all 3 corners are different, and it just puts on some of the best racing, and it's also really hard to drive too. So both of them are really fun. I think both of the races will be really good for this series, and yeah, I'm looking forward to Watkins and next season.
Right on. And Adam, again, what a win over here. I nearly broke my keyboard with this one, celebrating a little bit. But go ahead and celebrate with your team, buddy, and a truly deserved win on this one.
Yep, thanks.
All right, that's Adam Blocker for Powersline Motorsport, our race winner over here at the Gateway Raceway. And we're going to pull the other Adam over here into our broadcast booth. And I think I'm gonna let you do the honors, Andrew. Talk with the man of the race. In our opinion, Adam Crane. Go right ahead.
Yeah, we definitely got to give you driver of the race there, Adam. So first of all, you got to take me through those last 2 laps. You're doing everything you can to get close to Phil there, and then you finally get there in those last 5 laps, and then coming out at 2 with 2 to go. What happened?
Well, first off, thanks for driver of the day, though. Blocker finished 1 spot ahead of me and started next to me, so I personally have to give it to him. But definitely an exciting last few laps there, battling with Phil. 2 to go, coming out of 2. I was hoping that I might be able to slide to Phil's inside, just because I was able to get my car rotated a lot better, it seemed, through 3 and 4 than everyone else was. I'm not sure if that was a gearing thing or a setup thing, but it was something that I was hoping I could use to my advantage. Phil defended the inside, which was totally cool. I went outside, and I had noticed that anyone who takes a really aggressive inside line entering 3 usually washes up middle of 3 and 4, and then out of 4. So I backed out a little bit and tried to cut underneath him, which did work. But because the outside's OP, he was able to drag up and around me out of 4, coming to the white. I tried to do more or less the same thing, but I thought that the best way to get around him was probably coming to the line. So I stuck it outside after he defended again on the last lap coming into 3, and then just sort of gave her channel and she stuck. And it was just an awesome drag race to the end.
Now, you and Phil are going head to head for the championship here. So, what was the emotion like coming through 3 and 4? And when you got to his outside, when did you know that you had him? And what was the emotion like as you realized that you're extending that championship lead?
It was actually I kept looking left, obviously, to make sure where I was relative to him, because I didn't want him to wash up into me and put me in the wall or something. Not that Phil would do that, but just an understeer car. And I thought that I had him as soon as I heard him shift into 5th, because typically in that spot you really want to rev out the engine. And I'm not sure again if it's a gearing thing, but I was able to stay in 4th all the way through out of 4 and then upshift. So as soon as I heard him upshift into 5th, I think, then that's sort of when I knew I kind of had it. And then I was looking left the whole way down the front straight to the line. So it was really exciting.
Very nice. And one final question for you. You didn't have the best start to this race. You actually fell back to, I think it was about 12th. But
Yeah.
what was the point where you knew that you actually had a shot at this?
Well, in testing, I had tried to really make a car that was better on the long run. I kept trying all different sorts of setup changes. And as soon as I was sort of around other cars, especially entering 1 and 2, maybe 10 laps or 12 laps into a run, I could see everyone was understeering, and I was able to cut underneath them out of 2. And that's sort of when I realized that if I was patient and I sort of worked myself through the traffic in a thoughtful way, then I'd be able to work my way up through the field. Had some close battles with Alexis and Alex a little bit, so that was cool, and Matt as well. So everyone actually, the fact that it went green the whole way really played into the setup that we had on the VRS iRacing car. So big thumbs up to everyone who raced today to be able to get it to the end on a literally one green flag at the end, and then a checker flag at one green flag at the beginning, and then a checker flag at the end. So really satisfied with how that race went, and yeah, looking forward to the rest of the season.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with us today, Adam, and go enjoy that well-deserved second place.
Oh, the beer is going to taste very nice. Thanks a lot, guys.
It is proven now that Canadians do like beer more than anything else, right? That is cool. And we're gonna bring one last guy into the broadcast booth for a quick interview that is gonna be Isaac Morris. Isaac, not the race you probably wanted to have this time by. Of course, you had a really strong start. I think you started second place alongside Phil Krause, but fell back a little bit. Tell us what happened.
So yeah, just it was just a race of what could have been really, and yeah, I had a really strong qualifying. Really wasn't expecting P2. Honestly, just took the wrong strategy today. I decided to stay out longer than everyone else in most of the runs, and I just lost so much time because everyone else had the fresher tires, and I just lost track position, and also a little contact with the wall on like lap 15 just didn't help either. So yeah, it's just one of those races, you know.
Fair point. It happens, man. But I really want to bring before I let you go. Which of the 2 tracks of the season kind of favors you best? The road track of Glen or the oval track of the Tri-Oval of Pocono?
I'd say more Watkins Glen because I'm more of a road racer than an oval driver really, and I just enjoy the road courses a hell of a lot more than the ovals. But Pocono is also a good track because it is a super speedway, so you know it's just like flat out, and you know it's just going to be a draft fest, and just who's going to get lucky, and who's just going to be able to keep it out of the wall out of turn 3. So I think it's either or really for me.
Fair point. And again, we know how good of a driver you are, Isaac. I know you're going to get him again next time by. So good luck on the Glen next week.
Hey, thank you very much.
So that was Isaac Morris. He finished right around the top 10, finishing within the last position of that top 10. Of course, not the best driver, not driver of the day, considering he started second place. But before we leave over here, Andrew, any final considerations you want to make around this? Probably one of the most fun races we had this season so far.
Yeah, what an absolute blast to watch that race. First of all, we barely mentioned it, but 0 cautions through that race.
Yeah.
Everyone did a great job. Only a couple of retirements, and everybody did a great job keeping it nice and clean. A lot of respect out there, and just some fantastic racing at that, especially at the end there. That was one heck of a last 2 laps from Phil and Adam there.
Right on, and I agree 100% with your statement. But we're going to be back next Monday with round 11 at the Watkins Glen International Raceway. But for now, in the name of RaceSpot, I am Lorenzo Bonder. I've been with Andrew Kinsella and Connery Maddock on cameras. The cameras were provided by Isvan Balog of Track Cam 22, with additional cameras provided by our own RaceSpot Tyler Maxson. But for now, we wish you good night, rest easy, and we'll see you next Monday.